Alright guys, give me a 5 for 5 and we will roll right to it. Hello to everybody. Hello to everybody. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was going to do another stream today, but here we are. Like I said, when big stuff happens, I will definitely be out here. This was not in any way whatsoever expected. Wasn't unexpected, but it wasn't like expected. You know what I'm screaming there? Know what I'm screaming? Before we get going though, guys, please share out the stream. I would, especially stuff like this. I do like people to see these. You know, it's the next flare. It's a big one. It's a big X flare. But I will say this. We have a huge filament that's over here that lifted off too that I think is has a good chance of hitting us. And so yeah, so this is that big sunspot, guys. Remember what I said? It looked like it could be, you know, it was pretty stable at the time, but could become unstable like right away. And that's pretty much what happened. Hey, Ripper, what's up? Renee, IG, Stephanie. Okay, so I am going to jump into it because I do think that that's fair that I go ahead and do all the space weather stuff, and then I'll do the shout outs, and I'll talk to you guys throughout the stream, say hi or whatever also. And any super chats that come in, I definitely will stop and say, you know, say thank you. Had some pretty generous ones this afternoon, so I really do appreciate that, guys. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool stuff, guys. It really does help me. You know, it's something new for me, and like I said earlier today, I'm almost embarrassed. I get like bashful when it comes to stuff like that. If you were in the same room with me, you'd probably see my face turn red or stuff like that. I don't know why. I've always been like that. But anyway, so you got this X flare, and yeah, so let's just go ahead and check out what's going on with it. And I do want to say this. Okay, I want to point this out before I go any further. This is SDO. I'll tell you what, before we do that, I am definitely going to have to show you where this satellite's at, because most of the stuff I'm going to show you is going to be coming from this satellite tonight. So I'm going to do that first. So it's in what's called geosynchronistic orbit. It's in an orbit around our planet, but it stays over the same part of our planet at all times. It stays in this figure 8 pattern, just like this. Okay? But it always keeps its eye on the sun. You see how it's rotating like that? It's always looking at the sun, and it's beaming back data to White Sands. Right here. Okay? There's a lot of benefits to this, but there are a couple drawbacks to the way that they got this up there. What happens is we get an eclipse season. 2 of them, typically a year. And what that means is the Earth passes between the satellite and the sun. Nothing more than that. The Earth it's all it is. It looks really, really crazy, okay, when it happens. And most of the time, we'll get a couple people out there, which used to be me, okay, and I'm just being straight up honest with you guys, thinking there was something crazy going on. And it wasn't, because it looks pretty crazy when you see it happen. But that's why they're able to, you know, they come out and tell you when it's going to happen. They forecast all that. They can do it for years down the road. And it's, so they tell you when it's going to happen. They talk about it when it does happen. It happens forecastable and prediction-wise enough that they just tell you before it happens. They show it to you. So to kind of eliminate that stuff. And I didn't have the knowledge that I have now when it comes to these kinds of models and these tools we get to use back then when I was first starting my channel. So yeah, I got some stuff pretty wrong. And I'm embarrassed by it, but at the same time, I'm not afraid to make a mistake either. So I learned from it, and I won't forget it. That's 100% fact right there. So anyway, that's where that satellite's at. So let's go back over here and check out what we got going on with this thing. So this is ISWA, okay? This is just it's a hub of space weather, okay? You can come up here to the top, and you can go through all these sub-tabs, which I highly encourage you to do. ISWA. Just type that in your search bar, and you'll find this, okay? And just start clicking away. You ain't going to hurt nothing. If you want to know what something is, all you got to do is hover. See? ASSA gallery. It's going to tell you exactly what that is. And it does it for everything over here. But that's ISWA. Now you can look at this satellite over here at SDO also. But this is the same, this image here and this one is the same thing. It's the same imaging. Comes from the same place. Okay? So that shows you that there's two different websites using the same data and the same imaging. I point that out because if you don't, you oftentimes think, well, this is that, and this is this. Hey, Miss V, good to see you, girl. I ain't seen you in a minute. Stephanie, Renee, main girl. Okay, come on, guys. Tell me I need to stop that when I'm doing it. I'm serious about that. Mods, smack me in the head. I don't want to be doing that anymore. I want to get to the space weather first, and then we'll talk as we go through. Okay. I have a problem with that. I really do. I always have. I just like to talk to people, and it is what it is. But anyway, so this is the 131, and I want to show you the difference. Okay. First off, this is this year. That's what the sun looked like back in 2020. See a little difference there? Well, we're either in solar maximum, getting really close to it. And the more quiet imaging you see there is during solar minimum. So you see how this showed up like this? Now, they don't call this an X flare because it looks like an X. They call this an X flare because that's how they measure it with X-ray, right? So when you see a C flare, it's a class of flares. That's what an X flare is. It's simply just a class of flares. It's like a severe thunderstorm warning system. Okay? The stronger things are, the more, higher up on the scale that they made, it goes, right? So this is how we measure it with X-ray. And it's here, and it hits the Earth in 8 minutes, roughly. Okay? So, and I will say this. The initial blast from this X flare was impulsive, which means it's kind of just a flash, right? But then it started to kind of try to hang on. And I'll show you what's going on there. This sunspot's becoming more active with what's going on. Okay? So if we scroll down, we can see the X-ray flux background here. And what we're going to see here, this will show us the flare, if it's updated. I hope it's updated far enough. Didn't look like it was. Okay, so there's your X flare. All right, look where it happened. And I say this, so I definitely say this more than I don't. This was over water because our planet's 70% water, guys. So it really affected a lot of the mariners and stuff that are out here. And you would see other ranges of radio blackouts as this tears down as it gets further away from the initial blast, right? What I'm not seeing is this flood of protons on the poles, okay? Because we'll see that here also when we get radiation storms. What that means is there is no radiation storm with this as of right now. And the reason why is because of its position. We've been talking about that a lot here lately. Its position is here on this side of the sun, remember? So if we're over here and it fires off an X flare, you can almost guarantee we're going to get some sort of a radiation increase. And I have explained that ad nauseum lately. And I'm going to give a really quick explanation. The reason why, this is top down. Looking at the sun in the middle, Earth off to the right. What's that mean? Well, this is our connection, magnetic connection to the sun. This black and white dashed line. It's called an interplanetary magnetic field line. Everything in the solar system is connected to the sun magnetically. So if you get a flare or a eruption off this direction, a CME, right? It has to cross our connecting line. So what happens is the protons will grab a hold of that line and travel to Earth in a hook motion, and they looks to be almost traveling backwards. But it's not really traveling backwards. It's traveling that way because of its polarity, right? So, when you're talking magnetics, you're talking negative and positive. And so if the opposite will draw to each other. So if that fires off on this side of the sun, you have a really good chance of, because our connection to the sun is actually on this side the majority of the time. Now it moves. It's fluid, okay? It moves. It doesn't stay exactly in the same spot, but it stays pretty close. So, given that, if we go back over here, the flare was over here. right? So there's probably not going to be any radiation storm. Now, we can still get a radiation storm if it's a big, huge blast in the middle, okay? It's just that when those types of blasts happen, it almost doesn't matter where it blows off at. We're going to get a radiation storm from it. We've gotten big radiation storms from big, huge flares on the backside of the sun. Wasn't facing us at all, to the point where we couldn't even measure how strong it was because we didn't have the detectors back there to see how much X-ray was being produced. Okay? So that's what happened there. So when you see these X-flares pop off, immediate thing is radio blackouts. And we did. Okay? We were experiencing radio blackouts in this area. R3. What's an R3? I will run you down with that real quick because I get that question all the time. And before I do that, though, I want to show you guys something. Okay? If you scroll down over here at NOAA, you can get to almost all the things I'm showing you right now. Or you can go into my description box, and I got them all there too. Okay? Now you come over here to the dashboard. What we're looking at now is the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard. It's just something NOAA has put together, a bunch of different tools on one page to make it easy for us to look at. Right? Then you can look at individual models over here if you want to. Or you can look at the scales, is what they call them. And the scales are basically, like I said earlier, the thunderstorm warning scales to tell us how strong something is. Okay, so we're going to take a look at that real quick. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. Well, wrong one. Sorry. Here we go. Okay, so we're not talking about geomagnetic storm. We're not talking about solar radiation storm. We're talking about radio blackout storms. Okay, that's what we're getting when we get flare. Remember, a flare is different than a CME. They oftentimes happen at the same time or closely thereof. Sometimes a CME can cause a flare, and sometimes a flare can cause a CME. It just destabilizes the region of the sun anytime one of those things happen. Now, I will say this. We will see more often a flare produced without a CME than the other way around. Okay? Now, a CME can be just a filament releasing also. And we got a big one of those. But anyway, you got the R3 here. What can we expect? Wide area blackouts, high frequency radio communications. Okay, now everybody understands this. Loss of radio contact for about an hour on the sunlit side of the Earth. So when we're talking about a flare, it does matter what side of the planet is facing the sun. Now with the CME, it matters too, but not as much, just because of how the energy comes into our system. All right, it siphons in through the poles mainly. Now it will crack through everywhere else too, but that's where the actual direction would actually come into play. It could be a little bit more stronger in those areas, but it usually is a global impact when we're talking about a big CME. Okay, now again, who's this going to affect? Not many of you guys I'm talking to right now. Okay. This will affect first responders if it happens over where we need first responders with ambulances and all the above, right? Police and all that kind of stuff. Not a whole lot of that's going on out in the ocean, but this can affect mariners in a big way. Okay, so when you don't have communications, you have to go to your secondary communications, which is GPS. And think about this. GPS and ham radio signals, high frequency radio here, they like conditions almost to be the opposite of one another. So it's getting now to the point where most agencies and things will use both. So when one of them's down, they'll switch to the other. Or they may just use them both all the time, but they're able to still communicate. And the reason why we think, we talk about this radio blackout stuff is because, what if you had a family member that had a heart attack or something, and we just had a flare? Nobody knows it, obviously, right? That's not the first thing you're going to look at when your significant other's laying on the ground having a heart attack, right? You're not going to worry about no stinking NOAA weather scale, right? But after the fact, you're going to wonder, what the heck is going on here? Why did it take so long for this ambulance to get here? This could be why. And that's just one scenario, right? So anyway, that's why we worry. That's why we not really worry. That's why we talk about it, and that's why it matters, okay? So this is the 131 angstrom on SDO. Now this is again, it's just a part of the light spectrum that we can't see with our eyes. I don't know what gas the 131 is, because that's what you're looking at. They're trying to siphon out individual gases so we get a different view, okay? So I'm going to run this through. I'm going to back this up as far as I can get it. Now, you probably missed that, okay? Right in here, you're going to see a little bit of a disturbance, right? It's a humongous filament lifted off before this X-flare. Okay, so watch right here where my cursor's at. You guys see that little string? Okay, and I'm showing it to you on this one first for a reason. You can even see it here. Okay, and then here we go with the X-flare. Boom. You see what it did to the whole sun? I mean, it really did. This energy really destabilized a lot of things. We had an eruption down here at the same time on the backside. So it caused a chain reaction, and I haven't really looked at it close enough to see which came first. It looks like this eruption I showed you guys earlier started it all. And that was the eruption there, and then the filament released, and then here comes the X-flare. Okay? Now, they are most likely related when it comes to how they're being destabilized there. Okay? Because they do. Now, you're seeing what you see here? Okay? That is the longer duration part I was talking about earlier. Okay, so you got the X-flare happening from right here on this core, but look at the X-rays being produced on the other side of the sunspot. Okay, so it's still producing X-ray all up until that quiets down. That's when that's when you're looking at this part. Okay. Now I will say this. I noticed this earlier too. We are having a slight uptick in protons. Okay. Now this trend may continue, but given the location of this flare, I don't think we're going to get into radiation storm levels. It's always possible, but I don't think so this time, and that's just my opinion, okay, from what I've seen before. Now, as I go over here, okay, so I showed you this string-like structure, right, that kind of was really hard to see on the 131. Well, if we go up here and we look at it on the 304, on the ionized helium, remember, I tell you guys this all the time, we see filaments on this really, really well. That's the dark shadow, snake-like looking things that usually lay on the surface, and they lift off, right, and become a CME. So there's your X-flare. Now I'm gonna back it up because this filament here lifted off before the X-flare. So you had this eruption down here, okay? And that ain't no WIMP either, guys. It's just not coming to us. Look at that, okay? I mean, that's not a WIMP. That's a lot of plasma getting flung from the sun. It almost looks like like lava getting flung out just because of the color. Okay, it's not lava or nothing like that. It's ionized helium and it's plasma. Okay, it's the fourth state of matter. It's charged gas, right? So when you got charged gas, it's whipping out, right? So when it whips out like that, it makes it very difficult to see what direction it's going. And, but we do figure it out pretty close, okay? And I'm waiting for the models to update before I give you guys a definite on anything. But earlier today, I showed you guys this solar rain, right? Now let me zoom in a little bit more and show it to you again. Because it's impressive. See all that? And again, I'm backing up right now. So let's go forward. Now watch this filament right in here. Okay, it's going to release off. It starts to lift off right there. Okay. There it went. Okay. You did not see any of this hardly on the 131, right? You just can't see it because it's looking at that part of the light spectrum. Now, given the placement of this, all right, this itself could actually cause a little bit of a radiation uptick if it crossed our line, right? But you wouldn't think anything like massive significant from that part. But I'm waiting to see, because the way that this thing broke, it could completely miss us. All right? Or we could get a glancing blow, or as this thing ripped off, it breaks in the middle right here, right? So what if this part of the filament kind of flicked this way and that one flicked that way, we could get hit, okay? Now, again, I got to wait on the models to update to give you guys any kind of idea of what's going on there, okay? So I just thought that you know, and I'm showing it to you because the sun is the background here. This is not the darkness of space. That's why it's so hard to see, okay? And I say it a lot, but it's just the truth, okay? So anyway, now notice how the X-flare itself doesn't look that impressive on this one, does it? It's the same flare. It just, visually, it just doesn't look as impressive. Doesn't mean it's any less impressive. It's just the way that it looks. And that's why I'm showing you a whole bunch of different ones, guys. Okay? And I hope that anybody else you guys watch does the same thing. Because, and I zoomed out here for a reason, because I'm going to give you guys an overall look at this. Okay? So, here's the sequence of events. Down here, wham. Okay? Up here, wham. Then over here, wham. Okay? And then another eruption down here. Did you see that? I just seen that one. Look. Yeah, we're going to have to watch this sunspot for sure. This is that one, I believe, that fired when it was cresting over here about 2 weeks ago. So it looks like that sunspot may have survived the backside and is really going off back there. So, you know, we may get that Earth-facing quiet stuff again. I'm not sure. Can't say. But there you go. That's 4 significant eruptions in like 12 hours. It's impressive. So, with that being said, let me show you seeds. Now, we're not going to get exactly updated information here. Here's that first eruption right here. You push start. Okay, you're not seeing an eruption from the X-flare. I'm going to show you why here in a second. I'm going to pause it. First off, this is a black disc. It's on the camera, right? It's a physical disc. We cannot see what's behind it. It's there to block the light. If we don't see the light, if that's not there, we don't get an image at all. The satellite sits right out in front of Earth, right here where my cursor is. Okay, so you got the Earth right there. This is SOHO, and it's holding the LASCO C2 image suite. Okay, it's camera, and it's always looking at the sun, and it orbits with us around the sun. It's just about 1 million miles closer to it. It truly is like if you walked outside and looked up at the sun. It's from our perspective. Okay? So, what I'm going to show you here, you get that initial eruption there, and I'm going to pause it when this one happens. Okay? There's the initial one. Boom. This is that filament, guys. This is not the X-flare. The X-flare was on this side of the sun. So, I'm not sure if the X-flare produced a big enough CME or a CME at all. I couldn't really tell. Okay, not yet. But I can tell you that this filament has a chance of it having an Earth-directed component to it. And the reason why, you can see the degree of coverage here. It's not quite 180, but it definitely is. It's stretching out there to 100 at least. Well, I tell you what, we can actually look at that. Okay, when these show up in red down here, you see this? That means that event of a width greater than 120 degrees. So that filament release was wider than 120 degrees. What that means is it has a better shot of hitting us, no matter where it lifted off at. Okay? And I can tell you that it does have some dense parts to this, I will say this first and foremost. I'm not scared of this thing. Okay, I'm just not. I'm never scared of none of this stuff I show you. If you guys get scared of anything I'm telling you, please go watch somebody else for a while and come back. Please don't let anything that you're seeing scare you. This is not meant for that. This is just to bring people awareness of what's going on. This is not no grid down or nothing like that, okay? But this is very significant news when we're talking about space weather. You know, an X-flare is always at the top. But given that the X-flare didn't happen until after all this did, so I was actually getting ready for this show to do you a little small show tonight, and that X-flare happened while I was pulling the tools up. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? Okay. But, so, if this thing spreads out, if it's going a direction that it kind of doesn't really look to be, which it does often, okay, we could take a hit from this thing. Now, what would that mean? Well, it means a whole lot of different things. We would have to, you know, the speed of it would matter. The density of it would matter. The timing of it would matter. All those things matter, right? So I'm not willing to come out here and tell you, hey, I'm expecting this, that, and the third. No, I'm telling you that I need about another day to wait on some of the data to come in. And maybe not even a day. I mean, because we're going to get some pretty good data off this pretty quick. But to me, it just looks like we may get hit from that. But to me, it could be like a glancing blow type of situation. Just because of the location of it. Okay? That's it. That's the only reason. Now, what I mean by that, let me roll this back through so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Get back to it. Okay, you see how it looks to be the majority of this energy is actually going to what would be our west. Okay? It's backwards when you're looking at the sun, guys. Okay? So as that flicks out, you can see what's going on there. Now, you know, you see what happened there? Okay, this pulls out, and you can see some of this plasma rain kind of get pulled this direction. That's all magnetics, guys. Okay? It really is. So you can kind of see this snake-like signature. There's nothing saying that we're not going to get another one. We most likely will. Okay? Especially if this thing has woken up. If this sunspot has woken up in the position that it's in, and if it continues to produce X-flares, I would suggest to you that we're going to get some CMEs coming our way. Now, sometimes, once it blows a big X-flare, like it just did, and it wasn't a huge X-flare as far as strength, okay? If we go over here and we look at it, it barely made it into X-class range, okay? It's like an X1 or an X2. So, you know, we're not talking high-end X-flare here. So, given that, when that happens, sometimes it will expend a lot of its energy that's there, and it doesn't harbor enough energy to produce that again. But this one seems to be pretty healthy, okay? So we're going to have to keep an eye on this sunspot, and so let me take you down here and show it to you. Now, I will say this. I did start to notice some of the things I was talking about earlier today. After I got off the stream earlier today, I started noticing the reds and the blues start to intermingle again. And that's positive and negative. So when that happens, like I said earlier today, has a better chance of flaring. So we're going to keep an eye on this because, you know, for the next 3 or 4 days, the Earth is right in its strike zone. So anything that fires off there, you know what I mean? Super tired and sinus has been bothering me all day. Thank you, Wages, for all your work. Thank you, Thought Manifesting. I really, truly appreciate that. Thank you so much. By the way, guys, on the super chat thing, I've got a list, and I'm going to scroll everybody's name during the wait screen before we go live, so everybody gets to see. I just like to give people recognition for, you know, doing things like that, because you don't have to, and it's out of the kindness of your heart, and I really do appreciate it. So, thank you. All right. So, with that being said right here, guys, I mean, we're going to watch that one. That's what I'll say. This is a 94 angstrom. You're not going to see much difference here. Okay, but what you do see is this back here is starting to get active again. Now, do you guys see that hash mark stuff right there? That's actually a flare. Okay, those kinds of image signatures show up during flares. It's the same thing when I showed you guys the X flare up here. You see the little hash marks like it's a dashed line? It's just the way the camera sees it, guys. Has nothing to do with how powerful this thing is. Okay, it looks like an X, right? X flare. That's what everybody thinks. And that's what I used to think until I was told, hey, it's not, and here's why. And that's why I tell you guys. And it's not a stupid question at all. It's really not. When you don't know, it really, logically, you can sit here and say, yeah, that's why they call it an X flare. I mean, it looks like an X, right? But this is that same flare, guys, on the 211 at the same image. You see this? See the difference? This is why we look at different gases. Also, I want to point this out. We got these coronal holes I was talking about earlier. These coronal holes will affect the direction these things go. They steer these CMEs quite often. And they steer them by magnetics. Like I said, guys, you got charged particles that's flowing out of this thing. That's the surface of the sun. The atmosphere is peeled back. It's dark colored because it's colder. The surface of the sun's colder than its atmosphere. And I know there's not a whole lot of people out there besides this community that really even knows that. I didn't know it till a few years back when I started getting into this. But yeah, that's why that shows up dark color. So when the atmosphere peels back, the surface is exposed. That magnetic connection line between us and the sun, which isn't just one string line, guys. It's a connection with multiple things going on, okay? So all that plasma starts to flow out towards our planet. That's solar wind. So when it increases and does all the things that it does, So think about this. This X flare actually did produce a CME. I can't tell if it did yet or not. If it did, it doesn't look like a massive one. But I will say this. If it did, and these coronal holes are like this close to where this erupted, the magnetics of everything there can actually pull or push that away or towards the Earth. Especially very early on. Okay? It can influence a CME, these coronal holes can, as far as the direction it's going. The sooner it influences the CME, the more it affects it. Right? So if you move just a little bit when you're 5 million miles away, by the time you make it 5 million miles down the road, you're way off to the left, right? Well, if you weren't influenced at all until you were to 200 million miles away, you wouldn't be as far to the left by the time you got to the 5 million mark, right? That's why this matters. Okay? And it does make it very hard to forecast this stuff. And it makes it hard for the models even to grab a hold and be able to get it right. And that's why I try to nowcast. I don't really do a whole lot of forecasting. I'll give you my opinion, especially when I'm asked. That's just what I do. I'm not going to come on here and just start, hey, this is happening, this is happening. I'm not going to ram that kind of stuff down your throat. I just don't think it's positive. I don't think it's effective. Okay? Calling people names and stupid and this and that, it doesn't help anything. So don't do it. Be an adult. I just don't get it. But anyway, so you see this, and when it does flick out, guys, I do think that has a chance. It's in a position that it could hit us. I'm just waiting on the models. Simple as that. So let me run through this 171 angstrom. This one shows the actual atmosphere quite well, and you can see, right? So if you look at the image there on the left and you compare it to the one on the right, I mean, that's a pretty drastic difference, right? That's 2020 over here on the right, solar minimum. Now we're heading towards solar max. This is what you got, right? Notice how this is getting bright over here because all this activity is going to be Earth facing. Okay, now this will show a pretty good eruption down here from that first one. See that? Actually, that's the second one, I think. Let's run this back. Let's do it this way. Okay, here's the first one. Okay, you almost had like two separate little ejections there. You had one kind of there and it kind of stalled out. Then you get a second ejection that actually picks a lot of this plasma right here and throws it out into space. Watch. See it falling back? But watch what happens. Boom. It catches it before it gets back to the planet and back to the sun and flings it on out. Okay? That's a pretty good eruption there, guys. And then we had this filament up here. You can kind of see it on this one. And then the X flare, you can't even hardly see it when it happens on this one. Right there. Okay? But watch this fourth eruption down here. Oops. Daggone it. Hold on a minute. Okay, right here. Okay? So you got two substantial eruptions. I think three from this sunspot down here that's just on the other side of the sun. Okay? That's going to be turning into Thesos. So we're going to have to watch all this. This stuff is not something that's going to be just gone in a day or two. It's not going to happen like that. There's too much going on. We're getting close to solar max. We will have lull times, but right now is not one of them. We expected an uptick in February for a short period of time. We got that. We did slow down here for a couple days, and we did experience that Earth-facing quiet. What is that? All that is when the sunspots and all the activities happening, you'll see a bunch of eruptions, and then when it gets in front of the Earth, starts looking at the Earth, it quiets down. Now, I have no idea why that happens. All I know is it happens. Okay, so that's what I'm going to say. Now, I'm digging into why that happens, but I'm not comfortable telling somebody exactly why that's actually going on. Also, I don't think we have a 100% good understanding of why that happens right now. I think there's a whole lot of things that need to be studied when it comes to that. So, something else too, guys, I want to touch on. I don't usually go into this like 2012 movie type of stuff, but there was an interesting thing that happened, and who reported on that? Oh, Ben over at Suspicious Observer. He reported on the birds flash froze on like the 19th. Guys, these birds froze and fell out of the air. Okay, so they said, I think if I remember what Ben said in his video, it happened like really quick, and was like, if not the fastest flash freeze, most intense in recorded history, or close to it. In other words, it was a very rare event. Okay, so if you guys go over to Reuters, you could just type in birds fall out of the sky frozen. You'll probably find it real easy. But it was that's something we need to pay attention to, because if that stuff's happening, stuff's changing. Has to. No doubt things have to change when you start seeing things like that. So, you guys got any questions for me? I'll be more than willing to. Now, let me say this too, guys. Let's before we get anywhere else here. Here is that sunspot. Okay, this has been this size for a good amount of time now. I think it's going to hold on. I do think we're probably going to see a little bit more action out of this one. And if we do, it will be facing us. But, again, if that Earth-facing quiet thing kicks in, by the time it gets here, the next day or two, it'll be right in front of us. If that Earth-facing quiet phenomenon actually happens, we may not see a whole lot out of that until it starts rotating away again. But, we do get hit with big ones. So, not everything is going to fall into that Earth-facing quiet thing. Okay? Just know that. It's just one of those phenomenons that happens. This is Lasco C3. This is from the same Soho satellite. It's just a zoomed out version. Okay, so there's that first eruption there on the bottom. And then here's your filament. Now I want to say something here. Remember I said the 120 degrees? It was probably greater than that. If you see the haze here, it's kind of like this. So what I'm saying is it's not a perfect halo, but it looks to be enough halo signature here that some of this energy is coming at Earth. That's what it looks like to me, okay? Now, again, I got to wait on the models to really kind of confirm that, but if I had to say, hey, this is what's happening, I would say there's, probably a 70% chance that we're going to at least catch a little clipping edge of that filament release. Now, again, we got other things erupting off too. And that's just a planet, guys. I'm not sure what planet it is. Let's look real quick. We can look. Okay. It is probably Venus, I would say. We're here. So we got Venus here and we got Mars here. It's actually lining up right there. But it actually could be... It could be Mercury. It could be any three of those. Probably more like Mercury, because that's about the position it's in. These two, Venus and Mars, seem to be out of the range there a little bit. But again, it's just one of those three planets is what you're seeing there. In case you guys were wondering. I always wondered that, and nobody ever would say it. I don't know why. Just tell people, hey, that's a planet. Now, once it gets close enough to see it on LASCO C2, on this one, it will. It'll come into view here. It'll look bigger, too, because this is zoomed in. All right? So, but yeah, guys. Now, again, guys, if something else happens, I'll be here. Also, guys, hey, the poll, I'm going to leave it up for another day. I'm going to give you guys another chance to vote what time you guys like to see me come live daily. Right now, 7 and 8 p.m., or 8 and 9 p.m. are the leaders. 8 p.m., obviously, and I already knew 8 p.m. was probably going to be the one everybody wanted. That's just the most convenient time for people in their lives. But that's Eastern. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set out a block of time, probably be 2.5, 3 hour block of time, and let you guys know, hey, I'm going to try my best every day to be here during that time. It doesn't mean I ain't going to stream at other times also. But if I'm not going to be here a day or 2 days or something like that, I'm going to come on here and tell you from now on. I haven't been very good about that in the past, and I apologize. I shouldn't do that. And sometimes it's just not even intentional. It's just something that happens. You get busy in your life and all that. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses either. All I'm saying is I'm fixing that. And I'm not going to do that anymore. You'll get a community post, so if you want to see the community post, hit your notification bell, and you'll see when it goes up. But go check out the poll. Vote on that for me if you would. And thank you guys for all the support you guys been showing me. Hey, Aliyah, what's going on? Hey, Carol, what's up? Smitty, Kathy, Renee, what's up? Yeah, smash that like button. Share it out, share it out, share it out. Miss V and the Hizzy. Angel Wings, baby. Brad Smith. Tracy Q, Smitty. What's happening? A lot of familiar names in here. Thank you guys for sticking with me for so long. My channel is getting to be about 5 years old now. You believe that? You believe that? I'm going to graduate kindergarten this year. Space weather. Hey, Linda, what's up? Hey, Stephanie. Wise Jen, what's up? Sweet Wise Jen. Appreciate you. Axe Nacho, what's happening? Hey, you want to hear some good music from north of the border? Go watch their channel, guys. They do some fun stuff over there, too. You guys are hysterical. You really are. I laugh every time I go over and watch your stuff. Hey, Jerry. Renee's in the house. Kathy, Max, Azarin, Perth, Australia, baby. Hey, you know what? Now that you say that, come here, let me show you something, bud. Or, I can't tell if you're male or female by the icon. You don't have to say either. I just don't want to misgender you there. You may be affected by that. You may have been affected by it. It's already gone. The radio blackouts is done. Okay, just so you guys know. That time has already passed, but there's a chance there that, yeah, it looks like it kind of hang on over here on Australia on you. I've noticed that lately, too. You guys been getting a lot of radio, when we've had the X-flares. That that side of the planet's actually been facing the sun quite often. Good night, Mama Toddy. Yeah, thank you, Renee. Thank you for putting that out there. You guys are just awesome. I can't say it enough. Guys, go check out everybody's channel. Marv, he's probably getting ready to go live if he ain't live already. Tommy over on the lifeboat, go check him out. Ripper, he's doing Rip Grow Readiness. He was in here earlier. I'm not sure if he's here now. Hey, Seventh, what's up? Guys, if you don't know, Seventh Son is our resident comedian, okay? He comes in here, and I will pin his comment every video. So come back and check out his comment every video, would you? Leave a reply. He always puts a dad joke in there for us. That's right. Check out Ilea, too. Heck yeah. She went through a rough time there. Probably still is kind of dealing with all that stuff. All that bad weather out in California on the West Coast there affected her pretty significantly, guys. Hey, Miss Dragon, good to see you. Love you back. D Quick Paul's in the house. That's something. Thank you for see even your name. See, I forget stuff sometimes, guys. You can expect increase in seismic activity. Hey, Trish. So yeah. See, this is where I should be talking to you guys at the end of the video, right? And it's a legitimate criticism. It really is, especially when somebody gives me that respectfully. Because they did. They put it in the comment section. Hey, Johnny, what's happening? Good to see you, bud. Guys, get over and check out his channel. He's in my featured channels list. If you guys want to see some really, really cool stuff, peppers and eating hot stuff, go over there. It's Tommy's brother. You didn't know that already. Plus, he just got through doing the Hulu special. It's called Super Hots. Go check that out. If you haven't checked that out yet, you need to. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really did. My wife loved it too. We sit down and watch that. My daughter loves that stuff too. My son eats all the hot stuff. I wish I could. I can't eat that stuff anymore. It broke my heart when I had to stop eating it too. I'm sure Johnny can relate to this. If he had to stop eating hot stuff, it'd probably destroy him too. I wouldn't even want to think about that for him. That would suck. But yeah, get over and check it out, guys. You know, support each other, guys. That's what it's about. We don't have to all be doing the same genre to support each other. You know what I'm saying? And that's... I'm going to say this too. If anybody out there has a channel and you really want your channel to grow, go outside of your genre. I'm serious. Try to collab with somebody outside your genre. That's going to drag people in that would never have even seen your channel. It's crazy. It's crazy how much that is just the truth. You know, and I wouldn't have thought that at the beginning, because you'll hear you had to stop eating garlic. No way. That would suck too. Man. But yeah. This is crazy. I just, if you want your channel to grow, I'm telling you guys, get outside your genre. Go learn something new. Go talk to other people. I mean, they'll be able to, you guys can connect in a way that, you know, Tommy talks about that a lot. Connection is the whole thing over on the lifeboat. And, you know, he's brought in, him and Johnny both have brought so many people in over there from different genres. And now they're learning things about addiction that those people never would have even had an idea. And the learning goes back the other way too. Okay? Everybody learns from it. It just, yeah. You got to keep that mind open, keep that, you know, opened up. Back at you too, bud. I miss you too, man. Love you too, Johnny. You guys, seriously, guys, get over and check out his channel. You need to. He's in my featured channel list, so all you got to do is go down there and click. And then, right after you do that, go to Hulu. Watch that series. It's really, really cool stuff. It really, truly is. You can learn from it, and it's entertaining all at the same time. It's really cool. It really is. It's one of the better better chili eating shows I've seen in a long time. And I'm not just saying that just because Johnny's my friend, my brother. So I'm telling you, it really is. It's a good show. So, all right, guys. I am going to go ahead and pop off. I think Mark's probably going live here. Let's see here. Oh, Mark Pyers is doing his stuff too. Hey, Brad, what's up? Doesn't look like Mark's posted anything yet. Ilea or somebody else can correct me on if Mark's going live yet. I don't see it on my notifications. But yeah. So. Alright, guys. I am going to go ahead and pop off. If something else happens, like if I get some really updated information I think you guys need to see, I will come on like right away. Just for that short little time. But please come back and vote on the poll. I really do, would appreciate that. Don't dance on the poll, but vote on the poll. Okay? I'm just kidding. Was that too much? Is that too much? I don't know. Gotta have some fun. Alright. Alright, guys. I am going to go ahead and pop off, guys. So, appreciate and love y'all. And, yeah. Looked like Axe was going live here. So I've seen in my notifications, right? Okay, thank you, Ilea. Appreciate you. You like that one, Susie? Yes, thank you, Renee. Please come back and leave a comment. Look at the pin comment, because I'm going to pin Steve's dad joke. I do it every video, guys. Go check it out. You get a little chuckle out of it, at the very least. He's a good dude. Awesome dude. All right, guys. Here we go. I know I've said it for a past. I get talking to you guys, and I hate to not. Okay. Love y'all. God bless. Yahusha saves, and you can drink this Kool-Aid.